those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts show with local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Enjoy being educated in such topics as personal injury law, community association law, family law, bankruptcy law, along with health show topics like pain management, men's health, and dental implants. Now, sit back and enjoy today's Ask the Experts with host Steve-O.
Hey, good afternoon. This is the Ask the Experts radio show. We're trying something different. This is only the second time that we have done streaming because starting next month, we will be streaming live for all of our shows. We're on every Monday and Thursday from 6 to 7. We have experts in the field of health, legal, financial, and home improvement. Show's been running for 5 years now. And today's show, we got two great shows today. In the second half hour, we're going to talk a little politics. We've got Laura Loomer with us in the second half of the hour. But in the first half hour, we are going to be talking about, there's a lot of our men right now that maybe are getting up there in age. We are doing our monthly urology show, and we've got one of the top doctors in the whole area, Dr. Eric Shevrin. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon, Steve. How you doing?
It's good to hear you. I'm glad we were able to pull this off. Next month, we will be doing live streaming, believe it or not. You have a incredible practice in Broward, and the first thing I'm going to ask you is, you're open, is that right?
We are open. And I'll say we're open for business, but we're definitely practicing corona-safe precautions, and we're really only seeing emergencies and urgencies in the office, and we've really hit hard doing telemedicine for not just our follow-up patients, but for new patients as well.
Do you like the telemedicine?
Can't say I love it too much. There's, I think, with everyone home and everyone on the internet, we have some issues, connection issues, bandwidth, whether it's on a phone or on a computer. There's some technical difficulties to get through, which make things extra difficult than just trying to care for patients.
Well, when Freddie introduced me to we are going to be doing live streaming, that's one of the things I was worried about, because you watch the national news and they're all doing the streaming and you lose sound. I am amazed. This is our second show doing live streaming. We have not had one problem yet, so I'm pretty happy about that. Tell everybody about your practice.
We are a urology-specific practice. There's 3 of us in East Fort Lauderdale. The name of our practice is Broward Urology Center, and we've been practicing overall, all of us, including our partner emeritus, for over 60 years in the community.
Well, I got to ask you, because this is a problem, I guess, once you get up in age, is when you're urinating, I can't talk for a woman, but when a male is urinating and the stream is not as strong, does that mean something's wrong with you?
It certainly can. And I think, in a man, as urologists, people like to call sometimes the male gynecologist, but it's a bit of a misnomer because probably about 70% of our practice is men, and the rest of it is women. And some of those problems that the women have are urinating problems as well. It can be the bladder in men and enlarged prostate. And, these are some of the things that you can think about and worry about as people are learning, but also maybe encountering some problems in quarantine at home. And some certain things today I think we'll bring up to let people know that shouldn't just sit for the next month or two and wait till your doctor's office is really back up and running to see someone.
What are signs for a male versus a female they might have a urinary infection? Is it just burning only?
The signs can be very common and similar amongst the two. Burning is a big one, but not everyone, as I like to say, not everyone's body reads the textbook. So not everyone will present the same. Some have classic symptoms, and others can have a variation. Burning is one of them. Urgent or frequent urination, day and night. Pain in the belly, down by the bladder. You can sometimes see blood in the urine. The elderly population may not really have any symptoms other than some mental status changes. Family, friends may start noticing they're kind of getting loopy and confused, and that can be a big sign for a urine infection. Rarely fever. Those are the big ones.
So if you get up at night to go to the bathroom a lot, what does that mean?
Well, it certainly means you're not going to sleep well.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Not to sound silly, but it blows my mind when I speak to people, usually men, mostly men, are getting up 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 times a night, and they've been doing this for months, and you kind of wonder how they function during the day.
Why'd they wait so long?
And the most common thing we think about is in men is an enlarged prostate, and in women an overactive bladder, and it can be a combination of such in men, but it can be bladder problems and stuff we talked about, infections, and then of course other unrelated stuff can get you up at night. Could be anywhere from fluid retention, heart and kidney problems, breathing problems, sleep apnea. So it's not just urinating that may get you up at night, but certainly can prompt an evaluation and a workup.
You know, I'm sure we have a lot of listeners out there who've had hip replacement, or like I did, I just got through having a knee replacement. I couldn't urinate. They had to keep me 2 extra days. I was not urinating at all. What would cause that?
Sometimes just the anesthesia can suppress the bladder and getting the urine physically out of you and so on. And it can be sort of the straw that breaks the camel's back. I've seen 18-year-olds go into urinary retention, which we know they have lived life even close to long enough to try and get an enlarged prostate at that point. If it's a guy, certainly with a woman, not a lot of issues unless there's other underlying neurologic issues. But for someone like yourself who is gradually getting a little more mature, perhaps, and
31,
start having
doctor.
some problems.
I'll be 32 next week. I thought maybe it might have been from the surgery, just the trauma of surgery, but you're saying it could be from the anesthesia.
Certainly anesthesia definitely has, you can think about it, we use it to put you to sleep, and it can put kind of many of the body's functions, just like breathing, to sleep. And it's not uncommon for us to see urine retention after surgery. It's maybe once a week, every other week, that we get a call, got to come to the recovery room to help them put a catheter in for someone who can't urinate.
Well, I tell you, when they told me that, I thought, come on now, I don't want to go through that, but it didn't work that way. They got me. I want to know also, because, again, this is a very big subject, is kidney stones. How does someone know that they have kidney stones? Is it just by the pain only?
That's the most common thing. And certainly you may hear screaming from down the street, and that may be the kidney stone, because most people will tell you it's about the worst pain they've ever had in their life. Next, certainly worse than child labor, women tell me, and certainly up there with dental pain.
It's that bad.
Pain is certainly number one, number two, and number three. And you can see blood in the urine. Sometimes fever can accompany a stone, which will make it an emergency at that point, because we're worrying about bacteria backing up with the urine and into the blood. That can cause sepsis and get someone real sick, and even result in septic shock and even death in the worst cases.
Now,
Your question?
the kidney stone, is, I heard, it's so painful, and that's how you know that you have kidney stones. Where's the pain at?
It is definitely when you're, well, I'll say when you're passing the stone. So I think the most important thing to know is that when you're passing a stone, that's when the pain is going to come. Certainly, the stones form in the kidneys, and at some point in time, they decide to make their way out. And there is nothing that we can tell you that'll predict if you have a stone up there that we find incidentally. There's nothing I can tell you that we can predict that will help us know when it's going to come out, whether it's tomorrow, next month, next year.
Well, I tell you what, I did not know they were that painful, but I guess that's how people know. We're going to go to our first break and give everybody your phone number and your website.
Our phone number is 954-463-6408. And our website is Broward, like the county, Urology Center.
And, yes, go ahead and give them the phone number one more time.
954-463-6408.
We're going to go to break. We'll be back with Dr. Chevron, Broward Urology. We'll be right back.
Steve.
Are you suffering from erectile dysfunction, also known as ED? The urologist at Broward Urology Center can help men regain their sexual health in a comfortable, discreet environment. ED can result from age, low testosterone, high blood pressure, diabetes, smoking, sleep apnea, high cholesterol, and cardiovascular disease. When a man is first seen in the office at Broward Urology Center, a thorough evaluation is done by the doctor, which begins with an open, honest, and absolutely confidential discussion about their overall medical health and current sexual function. A complete physical exam is performed, and blood work is often ordered. Once a full workup is completed, a customized treatment plan is designed for each individual patient. They offer all treatments for ED, including the newest shockwave therapy and the P-Shot. Contact the Broward Urology Center today to discuss all the different options they offer for ED at 954-463-6408.
And we are back. You know, I told you we were in the second half of the show. We were going to have Laura Loomer on. I don't know why. For some reason, I told her 6:15, but it's going to be 6:45 that she's going to be on with us. Hey, Dr. Chevron, what kind of calls are you getting now with the virus?
Well, you know, we're not dealing with any kind of lung or respiratory issues, and we're getting, I think, our usual calls. We're definitely trying to see our regular patients, as I mentioned, most of them by telemedicine over the computer or FaceTime type of call through the telemedicine apps, and do our visits that way. But we're definitely getting, I tell you, the most common surgery I've had to do in the last few weeks is a kidney stone. And like we talked about the pain, you know, and the backup of urine to the kidneys, a lot of times those, when the stone's passing, just can't wait.
So it's definitely not an elective surgery.
It's definitely not elective, but it doesn't necessarily have to be emergent. In other words, the patient may have presented to the emergency room and was able to be comfortable enough on, let's say, pain pills to go home, and it's nice if the patient can try and pass the stone on their own and avoid surgery, but nevertheless, sometimes it's just not going to happen, or the pain is too much for them to take with vomiting and so on. And like I mentioned before, we never want to let a fever happen. So these are some of the things I wanted to emphasize to people that are stuck at home and quarantined, and avoiding doctors and hospitals and emergency rooms, because the hospitals are super slow right now, except for COVID kind of stuff. And I don't want people to mistakenly let themselves get real sick to the point of an absolute emergency at home.
Good. Have you noticed the operating rooms are different now? I mean, are they more protected? I guess you're pretty protected anyway.
Well, first of all, they're dead, I guess you would say, very slow. Only, like I said, emergencies going on. I know at the hospitals, everyone is getting tested before they go up to the hospital and up to the operating room, whether they're suspected or not. They are now testing every person that needs to go to the operating room. And certainly the virus is not going to stop those people coming in with gallstones and
Right.
appendicitis and kidney stones and any kind of acute problems. But we're doing our best to keep patients out of the hospital and try and manage everything we can, either by phone or certainly here in the office. We have lots of supplies if someone's not able to urinate, to have a catheter put in, or at least acutely if they're bleeding, to try and evaluate them maybe with an endoscopy or something.
Well, you have another side to your business, too, because you also work with men who are going through erectile dysfunction.
That I do, and that's something that has certainly, jokingly but in a serious way, come to mind, because I think that people in quarantine are at home quite a bit now, and
Yes.
perhaps spending a little more time in the bedroom even, and just finding out some stuff that they had maybe been too busy with work and life and everything, that things are not necessarily working so well for them sexually, as we mentioned with some of the other medical stuff, but from the sexual standpoint, and coming to mind.
Tell me, what do you look for, or what does a person look for medically wise? Is it high blood pressure, overweight? What is it that causes erectile dysfunction?
Well, certainly some of the stuff that you mentioned, I think all of it that you mentioned, the high blood pressure, hypertension, overweight. Doesn't have to be morbid obesity, but being overweight can result in sleep apnea. Sleep apnea can lead to a big one, low testosterone. Low testosterone, very much linked testosterone, that is, to erectile function in men, even to sex drive in women, and diabetes, the last big hit on sexual function and overall physical function and so on.
So you don't just give somebody a pill and that's it. You go way beyond that. You have many ways that you can help someone with erectile dysfunction.
Certainly. We, as the urologists, we're the genitourinary specialists. So we're the ones that specialize in the, again, big-time male genitalia, but also female as well. We kind of do some overlap with the gynecologist sometimes, and certainly in the sexual realm, in the urinary realm down there. And when it comes to the ED, or erectile dysfunction with men, anything from a pill to a pump to a shot to a needle to the newer regenerative treatments such as the shockwave therapy, the low-intensity shockwave therapy, and the P-shot, or the platelet-rich plasma injection.
So do you start them off with, like, Viagra? Is that how you start them off?
I think first of all, good history and physical exam is very important, and in this day and age, patients get rushed in and out in a lot of offices.
Yes.
So I think many do appreciate a few extra minutes getting a good history on them. Smoking, another big factor in not just the big blood vessels in your heart, but think about the smaller ones lower down and elsewhere in your body, even in the eyes and the kidneys, and certainly down in the genital area, that when those get clogged, like the ones in the heart can, and much sooner, because these other ones we're talking about are much smaller blood vessels and can clog much sooner, then these are things you need to pick up and try and intervene, because just giving a pill or an injection does not fix the problem of why it happened. And part of the therapy is really getting to some of the root causes. And if the testosterone is low, we have to check it and find out, and check it a couple of times and make sure it's the production and not a tumor in the pituitary gland. And so, a thorough workup needs to get done, a thorough lab analysis, and then we can figure out how we can best help the patient.
And how do you increase testosterone?
How do you increase it?
How do you, if someone has low testosterone, how do you bring it up to where it should be?
Well, there's a few ways. The most common, the most basic way in a man who's, and I know we're talking about men, so I'm just going to lay that out there, that we are focusing right now on explaining about testosterone replacement in men, because we do it somewhat in women to help with libido at times. But in men, if a man is outside of reproductive years, and that basically means for a man, men can reproduce till pretty late in life, that we want to make sure the man does not want to have any more children, we can directly give them testosterone as either a gel that rubs on the skin and gets absorbed through the skin into the bloodstream, an injection, pellets, there are patches. There's no pill, although I did just read an article, I think last night, and there's a clinical trial going on about a new pill of testosterone undecanoate that is looking promising. And the old testosterone pill that was out, I want to say 40 years ago, unfortunately, eventually was found to cause liver cancer. So we certainly stopped using that many, many years ago. But I think there's a lot of people out there that would rather pop a pill, if possible, anytime than use a needle or even have to rub on the gel every day.
Dr. Eric, you see all these commercials, on TV and on the radio that this pill can increase your testosterone. Is that all BS?
Well, these boosters, as I would say they're mostly called, I call them the pills at the gas station, if you will, or at the convenience store. Some of them have vasoactive or blood pressure active type of medications that can sometimes actually affect the testosterone. Some of them are herbal, but we got to remember that most medications originated from something in nature that we've learned how to produce chemically and artificially and copy the chemical compounds. So there's not a lot of studies on a lot of these products out, and I certainly have read reports of problems and heart arrhythmias, abnormal rates and other issues that have happened with these. And they may have promise at some point in the future, but they're really not the way to go right now, and can in some patients be dangerous.
I hope people are listening to what you're saying. Have you ever had a patient come in? I did not know that sleep apnea was related to erectile dysfunction, but have you ever had a patient come in with low testosterone, high blood pressure, sleep apnea? Can you help them?
Well, if you want to look at that trifecta of complaints, the answer is probably almost every day. And, there's a lot of people these days that are overweight, and high blood pressure can go with it, and the sleep apnea. And, again, now we're talking about getting back to the root problem. And so in some of these patients, it may look easy to throw testosterone at them, but that may be a patient of one of the other ways we can in men that are still want to have children, because when you give someone testosterone, it shuts down the body's stimulus for production of testosterone, and along with that comes the stimulus for the production of sperm. So that's how you can make someone infertile, by giving them testosterone. So that's something we have to discuss with every patient that we're going to start, because you never know when someone's done having kids until you ask. And there are a couple of medications that we can give that stimulate the body, and it's not always effective, but may work, to stimulate the body to make more testosterone. So in someone who has that trifecta of symptoms we brought up with the obesity or just being overweight and sleep apnea and blood pressure, if we can help their testosterone, to help their metabolism without permanently shutting down their own body's production because we're just giving it to them, and then we can get them to lose weight, we may have them cure their blood pressure problems, fix their sleep apnea problems, and when they're diabetic on top of it, type 2 diabetes, some of these patients will completely move out of being diabetic altogether.
Wow. Hey, we've come to I love doing a show with you. It goes by so fast. Give everybody your phone number.
Phone number here is 954-463-6408, and I would ask people to have a little patience. We're on a lower staff right now. Our office hours are down from to 9 to 3 p.m., and you can certainly reach us during the day. The phones have been a little crazy, and there's less people to answer them, but we promise we will get to you and get you in if we need to, and otherwise get you on the phone.
You're the best, Dr. Eric. It's Broward Urology Center, and Dr. Eric will be back again next month with more. Thanks so much. Stay safe.
Thanks for having me. You as well.
Bye-bye.
Smoking, sleep apnea, high cholesterol, and cardiovascular disease. When a man is first seen in the office at Broward Urology Center, a thorough evaluation is done by the doctor, which begins with an open, honest, and absolutely confidential discussion about their overall medical health and current sexual function. A complete physical exam is performed, and blood work is often ordered. Once a full workup is completed, a customized treatment plan is designed for each individual patient. They offer all treatments for ED, including the newest shockwave therapy and the P-Shot. Contact the Broward Urology Center today to discuss all the different options they offer for ED at 954-463-6408.
You are listening to the Ask the Expert Show with host Steve-O. We will be right back with more experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Join us every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Now, get ready for more Ask the Experts.
Hey, this half hour, Ask the Experts, I'm your host, Steve-O. We are live streaming. If you want to go to Facebook, Ask the Experts, you can actually watch the show live. You know, I guess I'm getting cabin fever. By the way, I'm wearing my Make America hat great again. It's really weird. I went to the grocery store thinking somebody's going to come up to me and tell me off because I'm wearing a Make America Great Again. I got to tell you, if I just took yesterday alone, I had at least 10 people come up to me yesterday and said, I love the hat. Now, one of the things I know about Democrats, if they don't like it, they're going to let you know. But not one person at Publix told me to take my hat off, didn't like it, and I was really amazed. So we don't really have an expert for this half hour, so I wanted to kind of go back to my roots. You know, the Steve-O and Renee show, which was on for 5 years. We did a morning show. The station we were on last sold the station. They're gone. They are no more. So once in a while, I have an opening here, and we'll get into a little politics. And, you know, we're going to have to talk about the virus. But I got to tell you, I am just so mad. Today I heard Chuck Schumer say that it's President Trump's fault for the delay in this new money. Now, you've got to be a blooming idiot to know that the Democrats are the ones that held this up. And you know what? If you're a Democrat out there and you want to disagree, you can call here at 888-565-1470 and tell me where I'm wrong. But you know what? This isn't the first time they've held the money up. This is the number 2 emergency supplement, and they held the first one up too. These people will blame you for anything. And, now what happens is these businesses are getting hurt. Nancy Pelosi doesn't care about that. Chuck Schumer doesn't care about that. And you know what else I've been hearing lately about Governor Cuomo? How did you like his brother, Chris, coming out on CNN saying, I'm finally out of the basement? If you didn't know, Chris Cuomo was with CNN, has a nightly show. He got tested positive, and he said he's been in his basement the whole time. They must think that we're really stupid because Chris Cuomo was seen out on Easter Sunday in the Hamptons. In fact, he's got a short temp, I would say. And this guy, he was yelling at this guy because the guy was telling him that he doesn't have a mask on. By the way, his son and his wife have now been tested positive. But he just sat there and bald-faced lied to us and said, this is the first time that I've come out of the basement. Well, his brother, the governor of New York. Now, he was blaming Trump for a lot of things. And it's Trump's fault this, and we don't have the ventilators. Remember that? We need 40,000 ventilators. Let me tell you, in 2015, Governor Cuomo was told that they don't have a stockpile. They don't have ventilators. They don't have masks. They don't have anything. The cupboard is bare. And what did Cuomo do? He went out and invested in some crazy, what do they call them, these that are on the roof, these, God, now I just lost my train of thought, that these shields, these energy shields. He invested in 3 companies. This is for the state. Remember when Obama did that? And it went belly up? Well, all 3 of his companies that he invested taxpayers' money in all went belly up. So his cupboards were bare. Now he's complaining they don't have any money. Well, guess what? New York was broke before this all started. This is nothing new. But here, everybody's got to blame Trump. It's funny. I saw some numbers yesterday. I don't believe polls. Remember Nancy Pelosi? Now, you remember Hillary Clinton was going to just clobber President Trump, walk all over him. Well, thank God that didn't happen. Can you imagine Hillary running the country now? Anyway, it said Michigan. Now, if you've heard Biden talk, I actually feel sorry for him. I know that he's losing it. The things that he says, the things that he does, he's got a problem with touching little girls. And if you don't want to take my word for it, you can go Google it. And there's about 15 or 20 little girls. He's got to run his fingers through their hair. Guy's a freak. Anyway, it said Biden 49%, Trump 41%. Let me ask you something. Do you really believe that in Michigan, Biden's winning by 49 to 41%? Seriously. All you've got to do is look at Trump's rallies. Now, Biden, sometimes he had 10 people in a room. You know what? I've actually heard many Democrats have told me that they're going to vote for President Trump. They're not going to stay home. They're going to vote for President Trump because this man has done so much for this country. And not only has he done so much for this country, but look at the media, what they've tried to do to him. There's going to be some reports coming out, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, about FISA. And I'm going to tell you something. It goes all the way up to the top. And you know who was up at the top. Mr. Obama knew about this. Don't take my word for it now. It's going to come out. You know, see, they weren't counting on President Trump winning. So they thought they were going to be able to get away with all this. And not only did President Trump win, this guy is a heavyweight. You punch him, he's going to double punch you back. They weren't prepared for that. And you know what? They're going down the wrong trail with this China thing, because Joe Biden really screwed up when it came to China. And, of course, you know, Nancy Pelosi walking through Chinatown in San Francisco, telling everybody to come into San Francisco. I mean, don't they know that people are video them? So there's so much going on. If you want to call up, if you want to complain, you want to tell me how you're doing with the virus, you can call us at 888-565-1470. I actually was on a rampage. I was talking about this virus, staying at home. Talk about cabin fever. I told Laura Loomer, who I love, she's going to be running against Lois. I keep wanting to call her Lois Lerner, but that was from the IRS. She's going to be running against her on the Republican ticket. And I'm going to tell you something, we need people like Laura Loomer. I sat and told her 3 times today to call at 6:15 when I should have known I've got another show on from 6 to 6:30. And she did. She called at 6:15. I don't know if she'll be calling back or not. I asked her if she would call back at 6:45. I hope she does. I'm sure she's mad at me because we promoted her coming on the show. Last time we did a political show, if you remember, it was with Jeff Bell. We actually did a 2-hour show with Jeff Bell, who is head of the union for the Broward Sheriff deputies. You know, he was just put on leave. And I got to tell you, our phones rang off the hook when he was on. And actually, a lot of deputies' wives called. And the reason why they were calling is they were mad because their husbands or their wives did not have masks. They did not have protection. And Jeff Bell, as president of the union, has been fighting for this. And look what happened. Sheriff Tony put him on paid leave. Here's the problem with that. Jeff Bell has been trying to sit down with Sheriff Tony. This is the president of the deputies, Broward County deputies, their union president. He has been trying to sit down with him for a year and has had no luck. Who does that? What sheriff would not want to sit down with, especially as big as their union is? Instead, he puts him on leave. And basically he was saying, Jeff Bell is lying, everybody has plenty of equipment. Why would wives and husbands of officers call up? That wouldn't accomplish anything. I mean, look, we just had an officer died from the virus. And we just found out another officer now has the virus. Now, you know, these are people who are in shape. So I really feel bad for Jeff Bell, and I should have actually had him call tonight also. But I figure only got you for 30 minutes, and we're hoping that Laura Loomer will call in at 6:45, and she won't be mad at me. I'd also like to know what everybody thinks about the Georgia governor is going to open up the state. Because what I don't understand is we have a president, and the Democrats keep saying that, you know, he is not a doctor. Well, of course he's not a doctor. Have you seen the staff of experts that he has? He has the best of the best. And they have all said that he listens to them. And I already knew this about President Trump. He listens to people. He takes their advice. And they came out with this plan that should protect people in the states. And here we have a governor is basically going to go against this phase one plan. So I can't believe it. You know what? We have Laura Loomer on the phone now. I hope she doesn't yell at me. I would be mad at me. Hi, Laura.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm so stupid. I think I have cabin fever. I mean, I think
It's okay.
I mean, I knew it. I mean, I can't believe. Anyway, I don't want to spend like time doing that. I was just talking about this governor of Georgia. You know, we have a president who's got all these experts who put phase one, phase two, phase three. They spent a lot of time putting this together, and you've got governors who are going to try to open up this week.
Right.
Anyway, I want to introduce everybody. This is Laura Loomer, and what district are you running for?
District 21 in Florida.
District 21. That's Lois. And I got to tell you, you know what? If people have been following you, you're a fighter. And I texted you before, I really want you to win so bad because we need someone in there to offset the AOCs and those people. Because you've been doing it for a long time, before it was even popular.
Yeah, you know, I've been taking on the squad before they were even the squad, if you recall. Right. You know, I used to go on your program down in Miami and talk about my investigations because, you know, I live in Palm Beach, of course, but I remember we would do our radio interviews when I was in Minnesota, and I'd give you guys updates on my investigations.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But you've always been a fighter, though. I mean, no matter what the cause is, you're the only one I know to went up to Nancy Pelosi's house. I mean, who would have the kahunas to do that? But you know what? That's what we need in Congress because there's a lot of sissies in there, I got to tell you. And we need people like you, conservative people like you.
No, we definitely do, and you know the campaign is getting a lot of success and a lot of traction around the nation, not just here in Florida, but it really has become a national race in a sense. And there was a big piece in the New York Post this weekend about my campaign and how we're raising a lot of money, and you know this district is pretty unique compared to other districts in the country. Because it's now the district where President Trump and Mrs. Trump are new residents.
That's right.
If you recall, a couple of months ago, they switched their residence to Palm Beach, in Mar-a-Lago, as their residence. And Mar-a-Lago, of course, is located in the 21st district, which means that on Election Day, President Trump and Mrs. Trump will be voting for me. And on Sunday afternoon, President Trump retweeted a tweet in support of my race.
I saw that.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting.
You had to be shocked. I mean, you have taken so much between Twitter and Facebook, and they've tried to hush you up. They've tried to, it's kind of like what Trump goes through with the media.
Yeah, but you just have to keep on fighting, you know, because I really do believe that truth always prevails, and that's something that James O'Keefe used to tell me a lot when we worked at Project Veritas, and I believe that we are in a fight between good and evil right now. And I've always lived my life as an honest person. I've tried to help others. I always try to do the right thing. And I always knew that if I just kept on fighting, I would have my day. Whether, it may, you're the day that you are proven right or the day that you get justice, it may not be tomorrow. It may not be next week. It may not be 6 months from now. It may not even be 2 years from now. You never know when that day is going to come. But I really do believe that a lot of people are waking up, and along with this successful campaign and the strong grassroots movement here in the district that I've been able to build in our efforts to unseat Lois Frankel in November, my lawsuits are also gaining a lot of traction. As you know, I filed lawsuits against all of these big tech social media companies for their censorship of conservatives and their defamation and their allegiances with designated Islamic terrorist organizations like CAIR.
Well, I've got to tell you, you've always stuck up for Israel. You've stuck up. You've always been there for the Jewish people. You're Jewish yourself, and
Yes.
you have done so much for someone who isn't even in office. Tell people some things that are important that you want them to know about you.
Well, you mentioned several of them, but I believe in putting Americans first. And when you look at the differences between me and Lois Frankel, you see that she is a woman who seems to care more about foreigners and illegal aliens instead of Americans first. And it's really representative in a tweet that she just posted attacking President Trump. And as you know, President Trump has been doing his best to address this coronavirus pandemic. Palm Beach County is the hardest hit county in Florida. And so we are really in a hot zone here. And instead of trying to address coronavirus, she's on Twitter trying to accuse the president of being a racist and attacking him for taking measures to close our border and to halt immigration. And, I'm in support of President Trump's recent executive order to shut down and suspend immigration into the United States as a way to prevent the spread of coronavirus and also to prevent the collapse of our healthcare system. And as you can see from a lot of these Democrat debates, right, the Democrats as a whole, they all support giving health care to illegal aliens. And immigrants who are coming into our country and burdening our healthcare system. And so Lois took to Twitter to say that President Trump was being a racist and that his behavior
Your favorite word.
To keep Americans safe is shameful. And so she's more concerned about letting immigrants come into our country, which could potentially spread coronavirus further, than she is about making sure that Americans stay healthy and safe. We don't need any more obstructionist Democrats in Congress. We don't need representatives who are going to play partisan politics in a time of crisis instead of doing what they can to help their constituents. You wouldn't believe how many phone calls I'm getting from people in the community, even Democrats, telling me, I've been trying to get a hold of Lois. I've been trying to contact her to get help and try to get these loans and some help for my small businesses, and no one gets back to me. No one gets back to me from her office. Well, that's why she's earned the name Lazy Lois, right? That's what she's referred to in this community here, because she doesn't do anything. She just doesn't seem to do anything. And this was made very evident to me when my deputy campaign manager and I had a letter delivered to her when this whole coronavirus pandemic began. And, we called on her to reach across the aisle and, put partisan politics aside to work with me to ensure that we could get as many people as possible in the community getting life-saving information and alerts online. Because as you know, not only am I banned, but there's a very large banned and censored community in the country, and even during this pandemic, these social media companies are banning people for asking questions about coronavirus, for criticizing China. People are getting banned for quote-unquote hateful conduct, for, talking about how this Chinese virus came to America. People are getting banned from Facebook in the middle of this pandemic for organizing protests. against quarantine and expressing their constitutional right to peacefully assemble, right? And she not only ignored the letter, but her office manager ripped the letter up in front of my deputy campaign manager's face.
Wow.
So, she is not willing to represent her constituents, let alone, her conservative constituents. She seems to hate President Trump more than she loves America. She seems to hate President Trump more than she cares about upholding her oath to her constituents, which includes, all constituents, regardless of their political affiliation.
Laura,
I think that the people of District 21 deserve better.
what can people do who want to help your campaign?
Well, you can go to lauraloomerforcongress.com and you can sign up to volunteer. You can make a donation, and you can get in touch with me to see how you can get involved. Obviously, right now the state is still shut down, but hopefully this ends soon, and then we can resume to campaigning and meeting people in the community and having events. But in the meantime, people can post about my campaign. We send out emails. You can subscribe and receive my emails. And we've been doing whatever we can to help members of the community. My campaign made national news because it was the first campaign in the nation to modify our tactics to address coronavirus. And out of a concern for the safety of the constituents here and my volunteers and the large elderly population in Palm Beach, I canceled my petition drive and just made the decision to pay to get on the ballot, even though I was on track to get all of the signatures signed, because I wanted to try to prevent the spread of corona. And other campaigns caught on. We also were the first campaign in the nation to organize a coronavirus blood drive because there's a severe shortage of blood due to canceled blood drives and coronavirus. And then while me and my volunteers were sitting in the One Blood Donation Center in Delray, the First Lady called on America to donate blood, right? So we're setting trends, and we're doing what we can to help the community. Some of my volunteers are very artistic and crafty, and they've been making homemade masks and giving those out to people. I've been trying to organize behind the scenes, masks to be delivered to first responders in the community because a lot of them are having to reuse their masks. So we're doing everything we can to help people in this time of need, regardless of whether or not they're Republican or Democrat. That doesn't matter right now.
Boy, if this doesn't give you a taste of who Laura Loomer is, you don't know how bad that I want you to win this election. Have you talked to Ron DeSantis at all?
Not recently, no. No, I know he's very busy, and I know he just had a baby. Congratulations to him and his wife, Casey. But I know the governor's very busy right now.
Well, I'm sure that he is going to want to help you. He better. And again, give everybody the information. We've got a minute left. Give everybody the information if they, how they can help your campaign.
Yeah. So you can go to lauraloomerforcongress.com, lauraloomerforcongress.com. That's where you can sign up for emails and make a donation today. Every dollar counts. I know a lot of people are struggling financially right now, but if you're able to, every dollar counts. And also, too, the primary is August 18th. So if you're not already registered a Republican, please, change your registration because you have to be a registered Republican to vote in the closed primary on August 18th. And then when I win the primary, and I know I'm going to win the primary, you can vote for me in the general election on November 3rd.
And I promise you, because our phones have been busy, we will have Laura back again. And I will give the right time next time. Laura, thank you so much. We're going to have you back again.
Thank you.
And Emily, we'll be back on Monday from 6 to 7 with more Ask the Experts. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for listening to the Ask the Expert Show, featuring interviews with local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Call our office at 888-574-6999 to become one of our experts on the show. And tune in again next week for more Ask the Experts with Steve-O.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station.